The garage door opener clicked with a menacing finality, and Karen Matthews knew something was wrong the moment she saw the neon yellow envelope taped to her windshield. Bright, aggressive, official. Her manicured fingers, French tips perfectly maintained, snatched the document before the morning breeze could steal it away. Lakewood Estates Homeowners Association letterhead glared back at her, its bold print screaming with an intensity that matched her rising blood pressure. Special Assessment Note Case, the header proclaimed in capital letters that seemed to pulse with bureaucratic malevolence. Karen's emerald green SUV, a pristine Mercedes GLE carefully detailed every weekend, sat in the immaculate driveway of her corner. The Lakewood Estates Community Center buzzed with nervous energy. Karen arrived precisely at 6:55 p.m., 5 minutes before the monthly HOA board meeting, a calculated entrance that ensured all eyes would be on her. Robert Hartley sat at the head of the table, his silver hair perfectly calmed, reading glasses perched on the edge of his nose like a weapon of bureaucratic judgment. Karen knew he'd been the primary architect of the new income-based assessment, a thinly veiled attempt to squeeze out residents he deemed disruptive. She wore a tailored navy Armani blazer, its subtle pinstripes whispering power with every movement. Her leather portfolio, vintage Bottega Veneta, a gift to herself after her most successful real estate deal, clinked softly against the chair as she sat. "Interesting document you sent last week," Karen said to Robert, her voice smooth as silk but sharp as a blade. Hartley adjusted his glasses, a telltale sign of discomfort. "Special assessments are within the board's purview, Ms. Matthews. Your income level suggests." "My income level?" Karen interrupted, a calculated smile playing across her lips. "Fascinating how you've decided to quantify community contribution." The other board members shifted uncomfortably. Janet Miller, the retired school principal, looked particularly nervous. Karen had helped her grandson get into a top-tier college last year, a detail she was certain Hartley didn't know about. The meeting room was a masterpiece of suburban passive aggression. Beige walls adorned with generic landscape paintings, fluorescent lights that seemed designed to highlight every imperfection, a mounted flat-screen television displaying the HOA's mission statement, preserving community standards, which Karen found hilariously ironic. "The assessment is non-negotiable," Hartley continued, his fingers drumming a staccato rhythm on the laminated meeting agenda. Karen opened her portfolio. Inside, a meticulously organized set of documents that would make most lawyers weep with joy. Property records, financial statements, correspondence dating back years. "Non-negotiable," she repeated, pulling out a specific document. "I find that curious, considering the zoning variances from 2014. The room went silent. Hartley's fingers stopped their rhythmic tapping. Karen knew exactly what she was doing. This wasn't just about a fee increase. This was about control, about who really owned the narrative in Lakewood Estates. Her phone buzzed silently. A text from Mark. "Research confirms. Proceed." The game was just beginning, and Karen Matthews was about to demonstrate why no one, especially not a small-minded HOA board, could back her into a corner. The counting records office wasn't designed for drama, but Karen Matthews was about to change that. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead as she spread her documents across the worn laminate counter. Margaret Rodriguez, the senior records clerk with 32 years of government service, watched with a mixture of curiosity and professional detachment. "I need a full property ownership history for Lakewood Estates," Karen stated, her voice low and precise. Margaret's fingers danced across the keyboard, decades of experience translating into lightning-fast searches. The printer hummed to life, spitting out page after page of property records, easements, and land transfer documents. Karen's real game had nothing to do with the HOA's petty fee increase. This was about uncovering something far more significant, a puzzle she'd been piecing together for months. Her phone vibrated. Another text from Mark. "Deep dive complete. You're not going to believe what we found." The documents told a story most residents of Lakewood Estates never knew. Zoning changes, quiet land transfers, obscure legal maneuvers that most people would overlook. But Karen wasn't most people. She thought back to her first interaction with Lakewood Estates. 5 years ago, when she first visited the neighborhood, something had felt off. Not wrong exactly, just incomplete. Most people would have dismissed the feeling. Karen had built her entire career on investigating those subtle inconsistencies. Real estate wasn't just about properties. It was about stories, hidden narratives, the kind of information that could transform a simple suburban development into something far more interesting. Margaret cleared her throat. "Anything specific you're looking for, Ms. Matthews?" Karen's smile was razor-sharp. "Everything." The first document that caught her eye wasn't about property lines or ownership. It was a small note tucked between 2 land transfer records, a technical notation that most would consider bureaucratic noise. But to Karen, it was a thread, and she knew how to pull threads. Her mind was already 3 steps ahead. The HOA's ridiculous fee increase, the zoning anomalies, the property records that didn't quite align. Something was brewing in Lakewood Estates, and she was determined to be the first to understand it. Mark's text came through again. Confirmation on the anomaly. Your theory might be right. Karen knew better than to celebrate prematurely. In her world, information was currency, and she was about to become very wealthy. The county records clerk watched as Karen methodically photographed each document, her movements precise, her focus absolute. This wasn't just research. This was reconnaissance. Outside, the suburban landscape of Lakewood Estates looked peaceful. Perfectly manicured lawns, identical houses, a model of conformity. If only they knew what was coming. The basement of the Matthews residence looked more like a command center than a typical home office. 3 massive monitors displayed a complex web of property records, financial statements, and interconnected digital maps. Karen leaned back in her ergonomic chair, a half-empty espresso from her Italian machine going cold beside a stack of meticulously organized manila folders. This doesn't make sense, she muttered, zooming in on a particular property line. Her secure landline rang, Mark Reynolds, her legal consultant, bypassing her cell phone's usual channels. That meant this was serious. Tell me you've got something, Karen said by way of greeting. Mark's voice was tight. The property records we found, they're just the tip of the iceberg. Someone's been playing a long game in Lakewood Estates, and it's not just the HOA board. Karen's fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up a series of overlapping property maps. Each digital layer revealed something slightly different: easements, mineral rights, utility corridors that seemed to snake impossibly through the neighborhood's pristine landscape. She had always known Lakewood Estates was more than just another suburban development. The uniformity was too perfect, the restrictions too precise. Most homeowners saw rules. Karen saw a system waiting to be decoded. I need you to run a deep background on Robert Hartley, she instructed Mark. Focus on his connections before he retired from the bank. Look for anything, and I mean anything, that seems out of place. The printer churned out additional documents. Karen's investigation had moved beyond the HOA's petty fee increase. This was about something fundamental, the very foundation of the neighborhood itself. A notification pinged on her secure email. An encrypted message from a source she cultivated years ago, someone deep within the local county planning department. The attachment would take several minutes to decrypt, but Karen was nothing if not patient. Her phone buzzed, a text from Janet Miller, the retired school principal from the HOA board. We need to talk, not on any digital channel. Interesting. Karen pulled up the neighborhood surveillance footage she'd quietly acquired, not through any illegal means, but through a complex web of legal permissions and strategic relationships. Each house in Lakewood Estates told a story. Most people saw windows and walls. She saw data points. The clock struck midnight. Most suburban neighborhoods would be silent. But Karen Matthews was just getting started. Her secure tablet chirped. The encryption was complete. The document from her county contact began to reveal its secrets, layer by layer, line by line. Something was very wrong in Lakewood Estates, and Karen was going to find out exactly what it was. The USB drive sat in Karen's secure home safe for precisely 36 hours before she decrypted its contents. Her custom-built system, more sophisticated than most government networks, worked methodically through layers of protection. What emerged was nothing short of extraordinary. Property records, corporate registrations, a web of shell companies that would make a forensic accountant weep with both frustration and professional admiration. Lakewood Estates wasn't just a neighborhood. It was a complex financial mechanism disguised as suburban perfection. Mark's voice crackled through her encrypted line. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Every detail, Karen responded, her fingers tracing digital connections on her massive monitor. The revelations were breathtaking. Robert Hartley wasn't just a retired bank manager. He was the central node in a sophisticated real estate manipulation scheme that stretched back nearly 2 decades. The HOA wasn't a community governance body, it was a carefully constructed financial instrument. Each house in Lakewood Estates represented more than just a home. They were pieces of an intricate puzzle, strategically acquired and positioned. The uniform appearance wasn't about community standards. It was about maintaining a specific financial facade. Karen understood something most people missed. Real power wasn't about owning everything. It was about controlling the system that owned everything. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. The text was brief. They know you're investigating. A lesser person might have hesitated. Karen Matthews simply adjusted her strategy. She pulled up a series of property records, cross-referencing them with corporate registrations. The shell companies were a masterpiece of financial engineering. Most would see a complex maze. Karen saw a roadmap. A special assessment suddenly made sense. It wasn't about punishing high-income residents. It was about forcing specific homeowners out. Targeted displacement masked as bureaucratic procedure. Clever, she muttered, but not clever enough. Mark's next encrypted message confirmed her suspicions. The mineral rights alone are worth millions. They've been playing a long game. Lakewood Estates wasn't just a neighborhood. It was a financial operation so sophisticated that it had been hiding in plain sight for years. Perfect lawns, identical houses, a veneer of suburban conformity concealing something far more complex. Karen Matthews had made her career by seeing what others missed, and now she was about to expose everything. The printer hummed to life, producing a meticulously organized stack of documents. Each page was a weapon, each line of text a potential bombshell. Outside, the suburban evening settled over Lakewood Estates, peaceful, uniform, and completely unaware of the storm brewing beneath its perfect surface. The county commission hearing room felt like a battlefield, and Karen Matthews was fully armed. Robert Hartley sat 3 rows ahead, his perfectly pressed suit a shield against potential exposure. He'd been confident right up until Karen walked in with a 3-inch thick binder, a USB drive that looked deceptively simple. Item 247B, the administrative clerk called, Lakewood Estates Zoning and Property Rights Review. Karen's heels clicked against the linoleum floor. Each step was calculated, deliberate, the kind of entrance that made people turn and pay attention. Mark Reynolds sat in the back, a silent sentinel. He'd spent weeks helping Karen compile the evidence, layers of corporate records, hidden property transfers, financial trails that twisted like underground roots. The commission members looked tired, bureaucrats who'd seen it all. Or so they thought. Ms. Matthews, the commission chair, began. You've requested a special review of the Lakewood Estates property management structure. Karen's smile was surgical. More than a review. I'm presenting evidence of systematic financial manipulation that spans nearly 2 decades. The room went silent. Hartley's hand trembled almost imperceptibly as he adjusted his glasses. What followed was a masterclass in forensic presentation. Karen methodically dismantled the facade of Lakewood Estates, revealing a complex network of shell companies, hidden mineral rights, and strategic property acquisitions. Each document was a precision-guided missile targeting the intricate scheme Hartley and his associates had constructed. The HOA isn't just managing a neighborhood, Karen explained. It's been a financial instrument designed to systematically acquire and control property values through calculated displacement. Hartley's lawyer tried to interrupt. Karen didn't even look in his direction. The digital presentation behind her showed property maps, ownership chains, financial flows. A tapestry of manipulation that most would have missed, but Karen had spent months unraveling every single thread. Specific homeowners were targeted, she continued. Those with specific property characteristics, not random, strategically selected. Mark slid her another file. Perfect timing as always. The commission members leaned forward. This wasn't just another routine hearing. This was exposure of a system most had suspected existed but could never prove. Hartley's confident facade began to crack. Tiny beads of sweat formed at his hairline. Karen wasn't just presenting evidence. She was dismantling an entire system, piece by calculated piece. A special assessment, she said, her voice cutting through the room's tension, was never about community standards. It was a mechanism of control. One final document appeared on the screen, a property transfer that connected everything, a missing piece that explained everything. The game was about to change, and Karen Matthews was holding all the cards. The old diner sat halfway between Lakewood Estates and downtown, a relic of 1970s suburbia that time seemed to have forgotten. Janet Miller chose the location carefully, chrome-rimmed booths, laminated menus, the kind of place where conversations happened off the record. Karen arrived exactly 17 minutes after Janet's text, sliding into the booth with the precision of a chess grandmaster. The waitress, 70-ish name tag reading Doris, brought coffee without being asked. Black? Doris asked. Always, Karen responded. Janet looked smaller here, away from the HOA boardroom. Her carefully pressed blazer seemed to have lost its armor, revealing something more vulnerable beneath. They don't know I'm talking to you, Janet said, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. Karen said nothing. Silence was often more revealing than words. The assessment isn't about money, Janet continued. It's about clearing out certain homeowners, specific ones. A salt shaker sat between them. Karen moved it slightly, not enough to be noticed by anyone else, but enough to create a subtle barrier. A negotiation technique she perfected over years of real estate dealings. Specific how? Karen's question was measured, each word carefully chosen. Janet's hands trembled slightly. She was scared, but not of Karen. Something else. Something bigger. Robert Hartley isn't who everyone thinks he is, she said. And the property lines in Lakewood Estates, they're not what's on the official records. The diner's fluorescent lights flickered. Outside, a late-model sedan cruised past the window, too slowly to be a coincidence. Mark's earlier research echoed in Karen's mind. The property anomalies. The strange zoning records. This was more than a simple HOA power play. "I need details," Karen said. Janet reached into her oversized handbag, the kind carried by women who always wanted to be prepared, and pulled out a USB drive. No dramatic flourish, no grand gesture, just a simple, almost mundane transfer of information. "Everything you need is on here," Janet whispered. "But you didn't get this from me." The USB drive was plain, unremarkable, the kind that could contain anything from family photos to nuclear launch codes. Karen's phone vibrated, a text from her secure contact at the county records office. "Be careful. Some doors, once opened, can't be closed." The coffee went cold. The diner hummed with the white noise of suburban anonymity. And somewhere, in the carefully manicured streets of Lakewood Estates, a plan was unraveling faster than its architects could have ever imagined. "This doesn't make sense," she muttered, zooming in on a particular property line. Her secure landline rang, Mark Reynolds, her legal consultant, bypassing her cell phone's usual channels. That meant this was serious. "Tell me you got something," Karen said by way of greeting. Mark's voice was tight. "The property records we found, they're just the tip of the iceberg. Someone's been playing a long game in Lakewood Estates, and it's not just the HOA board." Karen's fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up a series of overlapping property maps. Each digital layer revealed something slightly different: easements, mineral rights, utility corridors that seemed to snake impossibly through the neighborhood's pristine landscape. She'd always known Lakewood Estates was more than just another suburban development. The uniformity was too perfect, the restrictions too precise. Most homeowners saw rules. Karen saw a system waiting to be decoded. "I need you to run a deep background on Robert Hartley," she instructed Mark. "Focus on his connections before he retired from the bank. Look for anything, and I mean anything, that seems out of place." The printer churned out additional documents. Karen's investigation had moved beyond the HOA's petty fee increase. This was about something fundamental, the very foundation of the neighborhood itself. A notification pinged on her secure email. An encrypted message from a source she cultivated years ago, someone deep within the local county planning department. The attachment would take several minutes to decrypt, but Karen was nothing if not patient. Her phone buzzed, a text from Janet Miller, the retired school principal from the HOA board. "We need to talk. Not on any digital channel." Interesting. Karen pulled up the neighborhood surveillance footage she quietly acquired, not through any illegal means, but through a complex web of legal permissions and strategic relationships. Each house in Lakewood Estates told a story. Most people saw windows and walls. She saw data points. The clock struck midnight. Most suburban neighborhoods would be silent. But Karen Matthews was just getting started. Her secure tablet chirped. The encryption was complete, the document from her county.